Hello, welcome back. Once you are comfortable flying in line of sight, you'll probably want to try flying an FPV as well. At least most people I think will be attracted to the FPV style of flying. And for me here, I've set up these pieces, not really too much to it, it's just the camera and the transmitter. And I've connected them up in the way that we looked at earlier, so you just have ground and battery voltage going to the black and the red on each of them, so they're joined together in the middle. And then the yellow wire is the signal wire, which goes directly from one to the other. And I'm using this camera plate that comes with the frame kit, or the frame extension kit, and I've stuck that on here with double-sided tape. I've put one piece at the bottom and two pieces at the top that will give me a slight angle up. You probably want to keep it fairly flat and level when you're first starting out, so that when you're just hovering and you're not going anywhere, you'll be able to get a good view of the ground. And you need to be able to see something, or generally being able to look at the ground will really help you to feel how you're moving and how high you are, which is very important. You need to be able to sense your location and your movement as accurately as you can. And when you get better at this, you'll probably want to tilt your camera up a bit, so that when you are moving forwards quickly, it will be almost horizontal. But to start with, I would recommend just keeping it about horizontal. So all I have to do for this is plug the power plug into there, because I have this plug already from when I was building it. I put this directly onto the power distribution board, so it's going to give me battery voltage, and then I just slot the camera in the slots at the front, and I'm going to use double-sided tape and another zip tie to hold the video transmitter down there, and that will let me access my video channel selection fairly easily later on. And it all should be in here without any wires sticking out to get stuck in the propellers, and then I should be ready to go. But first, let me just remind you again of how many things can go wrong, in the hopes that we'll all be responsible flyers out there. So this is the diagram that we saw last time, flying line of sight, and as if we don't have enough in this chain of dependencies already, when we come to flying an FPV, we take away this line of sight connection where we can see the quad directly, and we are now relying on a whole lot more steps along this chain to make it work. So it's pretty obvious, but I thought I'd just point this out because it really is a lot of things all depending on each other to keep it working. And now, instead of your quite capable human eyes, you are going to be looking at it of this. And this is a big step backwards for your vision, because you don't have stereoscopic vision anymore, so you can't tell depth or distance very well. And it also has other drawbacks, such as when you're looking directly into the sun, you won't get as good a picture as your human eyes do. And other things can happen, like if you're flying along and you get a little bit of mud or a leaf or something in front of the screen, then suddenly you can't see and you're probably going to crash. So just keep in mind that you're not you're not actually sitting on the quad and looking out of it. You are much more restricted in what you can do, and your field of view, of course, is not as good as your normal eyes either. And then we're sending that to the video transmitter. This can, of course, overheat, as I mentioned, I think, earlier on. As long as you keep it moving, it should be okay, but then you are still relying on getting this signal back to you, and as the quad turns around, you can get weaker patches of signal when it's facing certain directions, so that can be a problem. And as with the radio control connection, we also going to have the same problem with the signal being obstructed by trees and buildings and earth and hills and vehicles and things like that sometimes. And it's actually a little bit more susceptible to things like that because it's a higher frequency if you're using 5.8 gigahertz. So when something like that comes along, you're going to start losing vision. So no matter how good your camera is, this is also a link in the chain that can be the weakest link at sometimes, depending on where you're flying. And then, well, I guess the goggles are typically not such a weak link. They usually work okay in most cases, but they can also have problems such as they slip down off your face, or they fog up when it's cold or something like that. So basically there's problems all over the place that can happen that you just need to keep in mind. And if you're flying around other people or other people's things, don't take too many risks. And then here, what is this Arrow 4, I forget. Maybe this was what I was just saying about how the goggles can fog up and stuff like that. But anyway, enough about that. Let's go outside and do some flying. Let's try some FPV. It's starting to get a little bit dark actually, so I might have to do the rest of this tomorrow. But basically, it starts off the same as line of sight. We just want to sort of hover in one place, and you'll probably find this quite difficult at first. And the difficulty is feeling where you are and how fast you're moving. So that's why I said you need to get, whoa, what was that? Oh. That's why I said you need to be able to see the ground reasonably well to feel how high above it you are and how fast you're moving and so on. And it's another reason why you might want to have a landmark like this to keep an eye on. And you probably want to, oh, what's going on here? Can't see anything. Wow. I seem to be having a bit of a problem with my video reception. I wonder what that is. Or the camera maybe. I wonder if this is the problem I was having with the camera earlier. Keeps turning off. Well, anyway, as far as what I was trying to tell you was concerned. Oh wow, it just completely blacked out. This is not good. I might have to yeah, I don't trust this camera, unfortunately. It's alright while I'm just hovering like this, but if it was doing that while I was flying fast or further away or trying to get through a small gap or something, oh shit. Yeah, this is not good. I'm gonna have to replace this camera, I think. That's a pity. It's been sitting in my drawer for a year and a half waiting for this day, and it can't even perform. But let me just try and continue on with what I was going to tell you. So basically we'll follow pretty much the same procedure as we did when we were learning to fly line of sight. So we just want to hover in one place and stay there. Then maybe you want to try going side to side, left and right like this. Stop somewhere. So my target now is to stop in front of the blue trash can like that, and then hold it still again like that, and then go to the left and then come back and so on. So same kind of deal. Oh man. And then forwards and back, although I think going backwards and forwards will be a bit more sensible in this place, because then we can still keep an eye on our target object like this. And then you want to get used to slowing down, so you have to pitch back a little bit to slow down as you approach something. Oh, come on. Okay, I'm going to flip into auto. Crap. So I've replaced that camera, and fortunately I have some spares. So I'm using a Runcam Swift Mini for this one, which did not fit into that mounting plate very well. So I'm using the little aluminium bracket that the Swift Mini comes with, and I've just screwed that onto the bottom of the frame like that, and keeping it level again for the first few flights. But this frame, or this mounting stand, makes it easy to I've tightened it up now, but you can actually rotate the camera in that stand, which will quite easily give you the ability to try different angles and see what you like. So this other camera, unfortunately, I think this might be just faulty in some way, and I was actually suspecting this before I started using it, because in one of the earlier videos when I was doing some filming with this, I noticed that it would go funny, and then if I touched the back of it with my finger like that just briefly, it would come right again, but then it would go funny again like we saw a few minutes later, and I could fix it by touching it. So I'm just going to give up on this one, I think, which is unfortunate, because I thought I was going to be able to use that. By the way, just in case you're wondering how I could be so sure that it was the camera at fault and not the video transmitter, the result that you'll get from each one of those being faulty is different. When the camera is faulty, you should see a black screen like this, because the video transmitter is still transmitting you something. It's just that it's a black picture. Whereas if the video transmitter is faulty, you will not be receiving any signal at all, in which case you'll see a static snowy screen like this. So that might be a useful tip to know. Alright, now back to what I was trying to do yesterday. Hopefully this camera's not going to crap out on me. So we practice hovering, and we use a use a landmark to make sure that we have something nice to look at and judge how far away we are from it and how far we are off the ground, and just sort of give us a target to aim for instead of just hovering in any old place. Just gives you a little bit more of a challenge. This thing that I'm looking at here is not really the greatest. I find a better thing to look at is something like trees, which have a lot more three-dimensional texture to them. So something like this will probably give your eye and your brain a little bit more to latch on to and feel whether you're moving up and down or left and right and so on. Anyway, so after that, then again you would want to just practice moving left and right like this, and then stopping in that place again. Oops, that wasn't very good. And then backwards and forwards, and pausing and stopping and so on. So I think I did that yesterday before I was rudely interrupted by the camera. And then after that, I found for me a useful thing to do was to find somewhere where there is a line on the ground like this. And this is just a single straight line, so it's not quite as convenient as what I started with, which was a baseball field. And I practiced going around the baseball field following the lines on the ground, so going from first base through to fourth base, or home base, whatever, and so on. So practicing going down a line like this, I think you'll find quite useful. I'm not getting very good video reception here, am I? And then stopping and turning on the spot maybe is good practice too. And just following that line. After that, you may want to try circling around an object while looking at it like this. So if I go around these goalposts in a circle, oops, that's a bit wide, and just try and keep the same distance from your target object as you go around, and just try and keep it under control is the main thing. You're not trying to go super fast or anything, just trying to be steady and consistent and keep everything moving how you want it to be, rather than sort of fighting and having to react to what the quad's doing all the time. And then after that, you could probably try some longer turns, and this is where you'll have to start doing yaw and roll together. So just get into the habit of mixing your yaw and your roll together at the same time. So I'm just sort of going around and around the same spot again, but just practicing keeping it steady. And once you've done that, you might want to try some figure eights, because it's always good to practice doing a left turn and then a right turn, and making sure you're practicing both sides of the turn. So I'm doing what I was doing yesterday around the bush and the rubbish can. And as usual, turning to the left is easier for me, so I really should practice turning to the right a bit more. Oh, I seem to lose a lot of height when I turn to the right. And now, when I was doing the line of sight practice, I said that you should also do your figure eight in the other direction as well, so that you get used to turning to the left when you're out towards the left of yourself, and vice versa. But because we're flying FPV now, there is no, we never lose our orientation. So I could do this figure eight in the other direction like this, but it wouldn't make any difference, because it's just the same as doing it the first way. I just do a right turn and then a left turn either way. Might maybe to keep it interesting, might be useful to try it though, just a change of scenery, I suppose. So anyway, I'm not sure that there's a whole lot more to practice for basic flying, you know, getting around the place. I might do a little bit more on this in a future video to show some little bit more advanced stuff, like, wow, see that there, how that was, see how it bounces back when I try to end the flip? That's because it's not really tuned very well. So it's fine for just getting around, but it's not tuned as well as it could be. So most likely you'll get bored of these drills that I'm telling you to do pretty quickly, and you'll just want to fly around and have fun like this. But I just thought I'd mention that because those are some things that I practiced when I started, and I found that quite helpful. Or if you have a road to follow like this, you could try following along a track. That's another thing that I tried quite a few times when I was learning. Looks like the tractor drove through here yesterday, and we can see a track in the ground. Oops, it's a bit harder to see it from this direction. And my goggles are all fogging up for some reason. Hold on. Shouldn't be, because I have my anti-fog thing on, but nevertheless they are fogging up. Okay, it's beeping, I better come in and land. Anyway, that should give you an idea of some things you can do to just sort of train yourself. Instead of just flying randomly, you can benefit from giving yourself a specific target to aim for. Oops, time to land. Once you're a little bit more confident in your ability not to crash, you might want to put a HD camera on like this. This frame kit that I got, or this extension kit that I got, has a little soft mounted thingy there to cut down on vibrations. And if you're using something like that, ideally you wouldn't want to have stuff touching on it like that. But hopefully this is going to be okay. Let's see how it goes. When you put something heavier on the front, you'll notice that you need a little bit more throttle to fly it. And you'll probably also have to move your battery backwards a little bit to compensate for having more weight on the front. But it shouldn't change flying characteristics too much. Let's go over here a bit. So yeah, I don't have a whole lot more to say at this point, but hopefully these tips have been slightly useful for somebody. Just take it a bit at a time. It will really help to have lots of batteries, I think, because each flight only being a few minutes at a time, at least for me, it can sort of make me a bit nervous and think that I have to make more progress on every battery. But when you have lots of batteries, that's kind of less of a concern. Anyway, I'm just sort of flying around now. So yeah, I guess that is the end of this video. So as usual, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.